Thanks for staying with Newsroom Africa, Channel 405. We continue. Of course, we're on the eve, literally, of the campaign of 16 days against gender-based violence in South Africa. We're exploring some of the themes around the scourge in the country and perhaps even some of the solutions that need to be put in place. The panelists and the guests have mentioned that we've been having this conversation for years on end, but certainly the results that we need are not there yet. And so we cannot afford to get tired of having this kind of conversation. So before we went to break, there were questions raised about the impact of the criminal justice system when it comes to pursuing the cases of gender-based violence. I want to bring in here Major General Linda. He's with the SAPS. I wonder, from the perspective of the SAPS, you're aware that a lot of the cases which involve gender-based violence, very few of them are often prosecuted, very few of them result in actual convictions of people going to prison, and that's part of the problem here, isn't it?
Well, let me first agree that men need to take responsibility.
Thank you. Okay.
For their actions, especially very negative actions on the society itself. And number two, the strange part also is that what Lebo said is very critical. To say when a woman grew up in that environment, she becomes a very good counselor. Then why a man should grow up in the same environment and become an abuser? That is also another area that needs to be explored. Well, on my environment as the specialized units, we do see some strides in terms of successes. The last financial year, we attained 658 life sentences. And recently in August...
Of how many cases?
The reported cases.
Well, the issue which I want to highlight here, when you look at stats, it depends, the sample and the instrument of taking those statistics. We have a live system while we are convicting the people on trial and also taking those statistics. The system is still carrying on. I can tell now that we have got more than 50,000 cases which are still on the court roll, which need to be tried as well.
50,000?
Which is quite a lot. So when we compare, so what we do when the 31st of March comes, we cut off, we take stock of what we have already attained. The units were established on the 1st of June 2010, but I can tell that more than 4,698 life sentences. So we have individuals who are serial rapists doing multiple life sentences. For example, your Moses Mavela from Pinetown, he was calling women to say, if you're looking for a job, my employer wants someone. 32 women that he raped himself. He got 32 lives. But we as SAPS, we are not saying we have arrived. We are saying we still have room to do more. One rape, one murder is too many for us. Hence now, after the call from the president, we have also put aside a task team that is looking at the cold cases. Those cases which were withdrawn, we want to see if, is there any evidence that was supposed to be there that the police did not do? So that we can go and get that evidence, place that matter back on the roll. Those cases which are closed as undetected, we want to see if the police officer follow all the prescripts in terms of that.
Sure. I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I want to give opportunity to our studio audience that has some of the comments that they'd like to give us. I'll begin with the lady in the second row.
Okay, so good evening to everybody. My name is Oamogetse Chikwado. I am the leader of Black Girls in Caucus, the high school division of Black Women Caucus. So I stand as a former RCL of my school, asking a question of students who are being harassed and, bullied at school. Are there any social workers allocated to schools? Is there any direct person that we can speak to? Sexual harassment and whatnot. So is there any help given to the school, or are there any social workers allocated to the school in order to deal with such issues?
Sure. Thank you for that question. I'm going to ask you to pass it then to the back, and the lady in the back also has a question to make.
Good evening to our panelists, guests, and viewers at home. My name is Tumelo Gracious Ratloho from Black Women Caucus, an activist and a student from WITS. So inside, with us, pardon me. So firstly, I will want to ask, do you think that the justice system, its failure, is contributing to the silence within family units? And also, do you think that to the police officer, the training that the police have been receiving? I'm currently reading a book by Mampela Rampela, which she wrote in 2003. She talked about the incapacity, the training the police officers receive, which did not. What are the solutions you can go about with that? Is it victim-based or not? Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let me begin with you. Are there counselors available at schools to help young girls, young women who are dealing with these
Well,
issues?
many schools have brought in a number of programs. We work in schools, there's other organizations that work in schools, but the problems are many. So for an example, when a teacher recognizes that a child has been abused or a child has a problem, what they need to do is to take on that case and follow it up. Sometimes they don't even have support of the headmaster or even of their colleagues. Sometimes if the matter, let's say for an example, is sexual violence and they've got to go to the courts, they sometimes have to use money from their own pockets to take on that case. And I think we need to locate schools, for me, within a community. How have we equipped communities to help to help schools? I mean, we have seen with the many videos that have happened that we have seen doing the rounds on social media around how sometimes even the teachers themselves are afraid of what is happening in the schoolroom. So how do we help the community deal with the school? But if you are asking me just a simple question, are there enough social workers? Sadly not.
Major General? Sure, I'm going to give you an opportunity now,
just to
Dr.
add that
Omar.
one, Cathy, I mean, and I know you're going to touch on the emergency plan at some point.
Yeah.
But out of that emergency plan, there are 200 social workers that are going to be employed by social development. Right? It might alleviate the problem, but it's not enough. We need many social workers.
Okay, sure.
The issue of training of the police is an ongoing issue. Every now and then we sit and review the kind of training we're giving. But I think we need to look at also the difference between someone who's been trained, he knows what to do, and the attitude that he comes up with. Remember, the very same police officers, we employ them, we recruit them from the same community who is a violent community. So I've seen it working within this environment of mine, FCS units, that I'm seeing a pocket of excellence within them. But now, how do we deal with the first part, the first responder part, where somebody goes there? There is a 6-point plan, ministerial 6-point plan, that specify exactly what to do when a woman comes to report and where must be taken to, the victim-friendly rooms, the way she must be treated and everything. But there's an issue of non-compliance, as I said before. The issue that we're battling with and maximize the excellency that we have. Because one makes that kind of a mistake sending a woman away, it's spiral. It goes everywhere.
Sure. Dr. Omar?
I just want to respond to the question around learners at schools. And I think with there is a sexual harassment protocol, there's policies. We have the best policies in place.
Yeah.
The implementation is where the challenges lie. And having worked with children at schools, a lot of disclosures are actually made. Unfortunately, the educators are ill-equipped, don't know how to respond to it. Even HODs, even our headmasters, principals often are living in denial and want to protect the so-called reputation of the school, and it's often shoved under the carpet. As we speak, many schools are in crisis, and there is psychosocial support, district officials that should respond to it. My learned colleague Lebo spoke to the fact of the scarcity of resources, that we don't have sufficient social workers, but we need to look and ensure that educators are and management thereof, because often learners are also fearful. When they come and make a disclosure, it becomes public knowledge and they feel ashamed, humiliated, and typical damaged goods syndrome, that obviously now they are the victims of the situation. If I may just also speak to what the doctor said, and I think, Cathy, you alluded to that. Why should we place the burden on children? Children should not be placed with this burden of ensuring their safety and protection. Likewise, any woman out there.
Sure. Lisa, I also saw you had your hand up earlier. Okay, sorted. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to have to go to a short ad break.
Okay.
And you will finalize these thoughts in a moment, because we also have to talk about the plan, the emergency plan that had been announced by the president earlier on in the year. It's following then those mass protests that we saw, where women are simply with some of the years. So after the break, particular fund, 1.6 billion, I understand, has been allocated to it. So I will ask questions about where exactly that money, number one, is going to come from, and more importantly, where it will be going. Do stay tuned.